AMS says, do you think his doc on you will have potential to be non-biased because he reached out to you for your own take? The way I see it is this. He is going to amass as much information as he can get that is public on the internet, and he's going to formulate a documentary and an opinion based on that. Sadly, the vast majority of information and opinion about me on the internet is negative, right? Let's be honest, it is. So you're going to have 90% negativity in this documentary because it's 90% negativity about me on the internet. There's not much you can do about that. Now, there were certain situations and cases where he asked me specifically for my take or my explanation of something, and I tried to always give him, to the best of my ability, my take or my explanation on something. So how that factors into the documentary, I have absolutely no idea. I'll tell you this, there were some times he asked me something, I answered, he's like, actually, that completely jives with my research on you, so great. I mean, it seems like everything's in line. And then there was a couple times where he asked me and I answered, he's like, that doesn't seem to be in line with what I found. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you found because that's the internet. Like, I'll give you an example. In the FGC, there was a lot of people who didn't like me, but the people who knew me in person really liked me. They knew me as a good player, a good sport, and a person who actually actively wanted to run tournaments and be a positive guy. Online, I was a heinous villain. That was the point. I was supposed to be the heel of the community. It got people to love to hate me, so they would come to tournaments to see me play and hopefully lose. They would root against me, right? That was the point. That was the whole thing going on with my persona back in the 2000s in Street Fighter. So do you think any of the people who I knew back then in person are going to be online now to talk? No. All you're going to be able to do is go back. You're going to see the awful forum posts, the people who hated my guts crapping on me. That's the stuff you'll find archived. You won't find the people who went to tournaments saying, oh yeah, it was great. DSP ran an amazing event. Wow, he was super good at Super Turbo back then. Instead, all you're going to see is forum threads from SRK of people shitting on me, right? So that's what I mean. Like, what's documented on the internet isn't representative of real life, but that's what you'll find if you're researching shit like this, and there's nothing that can be done about that. All I can do is give you my take as I'm watching the documentary and say, well, here's how it was from my perspective and present my side. But that's it. That's all that can be done, right? So I very much guarantee you that there's going to be a ton of negative shit, but it's going to give me a lot of opportunity to elaborate, give back more supplemental information on the stuff he found, and give my take, which is good, right? Like, that's a good thing to be able to do that. And by the way, I don't think that Joon the King is out to get me. Like, yes, the documentary is likely going to have a lot of negativity about me and my mistakes and things I did over the years that were bad. That doesn't mean that he's like, oh, I really need to destroy Phil here and just make him look like shit or anything like that. I don't think that's his intention whatsoever. I think it's his intention to make the most comprehensive documentary on me ever done, because there's always been people who do it, but it's fragmented, right? Like, you've got Frederick Knudsen, who kind of talked about the fighting game stuff, but only went up to a certain point. You got guys like Turkey Tom, who barely grazed the surface of half of my history and hyper-focused in on certain parts that are pretty stupid, right? So now you're going to have someone who actually just covers the whole thing from start to finish, which is why it's his longest documentary ever. Gives me opportunity to talk about my whole history, right? So I think that's going to be good. But like I said, it also depends on when it releases. If it comes out that time when it's super busy with games, it's going to be hard to do a full react to it. So like I said, I might have to pick and choose the parts. Like, I probably want to respond to anything from the early days, like my Street Fighter days, and my early YouTube days and stuff like that. I'm really not interested in talking anything about all the nonsense that's happened in the last 5-6 years about my finances and shit. Number one, it's no one's fucking business. Number two, no one has it right. I've already said my piece on it. My piece hasn't changed. My statements on this stuff are always going to remain the same. So what's the point of me sitting here for an hour watching him just go over a bunch of bullshit people made up and just say, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. Okay, Phil, we'll show evidence of what you're saying. No, because it's innocent until proven guilty, and you haven't proven anything. You made a ton of accusations, right? With consequential evidence that doesn't prove anything. It could all be fabricated, which it is. So I don't have to prove anything at all. I just ignore that bullshit. That's what I mean. Like, there's no point for me to sit there and just say, It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Oh, we'll prove it. If I prove it, now I put myself at great risk. I have to show you my personal finances. I have to show you how the business runs. I have to show you online accounts, which then is exactly what my haters want, because they want to be inside my life so they can fuck with me even further. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't care about the accusations because they're bullshit. Who fucking cares about what I spend my money on? Who cares if I play a mobile game, right? This stuff is so dumb and stupid. It's just mind-numbingly idiotic that anyone even gives a fuck about it. And it's not true regardless. So who cares? I'm done wasting my time on it. That's why I did the Side Scrollers interview. You want my take? Go watch the 5-hour interview and leave me alone. I got nothing else to say on it. My stance will not change, right? So that's what I mean. Like, I'll react to the parts of the documentary that I have stuff to add. I have nothing to add about any of that bullshit from the last 4 or 5 years. It's all the same shit, rehashed, resaid over and over, nothing new to add, always the same argument, always bullshit. So I'm nothing to say. Why waste time on that? So it might be that I like cut it in half. I react to the first half or 2/3 of it, and then that part I just cut out, and then I see what like his final thoughts are, and I react to that, right? I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Yes. Carlos says, Ken, Ed, and Bison dominated the top 32. No Luke in the top 16 is crazy. Yeah, it's a complete flip from last year. I was shocked that there were that many Eds. There were 2 Eds in the top 6. I was like, what? I didn't know Ed was that good. Like, I knew Ed was good. I've played against him online. He seems like he has some really sound strategies. I didn't know he was that good. I mean, that's crazy. I thought he was like mid-tier, but he might be way better than what we thought, right? Everyone, Darkside Phil here. The only detractor channel that I watch is Doody Streams.